Welcome to Streamlining Insurance, brought to you by the Risk and Insurance Educational Alliance, providing a practical advantage at every career stage. I'm Darren Bloomfield, the insurance guy at Feathery. Today I'm joined by Shannon Spies from Guidewire. We're going to dive into the partnership model, AI, digital transformation, and how Guidewire is reshaping the insurance ecosystem. Hey Shannon, how are you?
Good, good. Thanks for having me on, Darren.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for joining us. So just kind of wanted to get a sense of your day to day, and I know everyone has their own story of how they got into insurance. So just kind of curious on that.
Yeah, my start at Guidewire it was really my intro to insurance, and I got most of my experience just work learning about their core platforms and new innovations within the industry. I primarily work with the Insurtech Vanguards and the Partner Connect partners, so I get to see a lot of new innovative ideas.
Yeah, definitely. No, I think your role is very interesting to the point of like you're really on like the front lines of seeing like the innovation in the industry of kind of working with the startup founders and just really like understanding like the business need for the carrier partners, and then also like what the founders actually do, like what problem they're solving for it.
Yeah, yeah, of course. And it's really fascinating because especially at Guidewire, we really try to elevate some of these new partners, and especially our InsurTech Vanguards. It's a special program. It's really fantastic.
Definitely. So yeah, just to get some background on that, I know there's like a application process and there's like a cohort of startups in there. What kind of sets like the Vanguard program apart and makes it unique?
Yeah, I mean the primary purpose of the InsurTech Vanguard program is to get our the new and innovative solutions out to our customers. So we work to, educate our customers on these solutions, and we do that in various ways with blogs, podcasts, insure pitch events, and we also work to educate our own internal teams on these new solutions. We actually have an event coming up in London. It's one of our insure pitch events, and we get a lot of views on that. We have people vote on the website for the best video, and the top five get a pitch in person, so it's a pretty cool event for our insured techs.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think just as you said, like content creation and like in person events is really key here. Like it's very uh like it's easy to make a website and then try to like explain to people like what you do. But then it's also like kind of hard as say like the potential buyer, the end customer to figure out like what that like software does or what that company actually does. So yeah, I mean, I think that's really important when we're in this like AI automation, like digital transformation, let's say era of like actually having these in-person events and just engaging content that explains like what is actually going on in the industry. So, as like a vendor, what kind of advice or like tips do you kind of have for like if you were kind of meeting with a vendor or somebody was trying to get into the Vanguard program, how would you kind of like coach them or give them like feedback?
Mostly it's get involved. Like, you need to be involved in those industry events and networking opportunities. Visibility really opens those doors. Utilizing PR effectively and leverage public relations to build brand awareness. Share success stories, insights, seize opportunities, and be proactive at accepting those opportunities as they arise. Whether it's, speaking at conferences, participating in various programs, just really get out there and showcase your solution. Have your value prop down so anybody can get that quick elevator pitch.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think like content marketing and just having like the right information to like the right people at like the right time kind of instills like that sense of urgency on like the buying side, because like insurance by nature is risk averse, and then also like the buying cycle of insurance of insurance buying software is pretty long sometimes. So I just think like really having like that message and having, as you said, just like exposure, and then having like developing like a brand is like really important. How do you kind of work with startups to kind of get that messaging out there within like those lines?
Oh, I mean, that's kind of a tricky question because, there is a lot of MNDAs involved and some of them do not want it advertised, but we can still, promote those success stories and just work around a little bit about how you solved a problem for the carrier without maybe naming that carrier and how you went into it, how you solved their problem. It's really just framing it around it, and you can learn so much from those experiences because until you actually get in there, you just don't know some of the problems they might be facing. And when you find problems with one, it's probably a problem that the others are having, so you can start addressing those and really going out there with your value prop and showing how you're solving a problem in the industry, and being able to have those conversations around it makes them understand and gain confidence that your solution works. You understand the industry issues.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's exactly it, is like finding that product market fit. And then not only at that, but really seeing that it's like a scalable solution that isn't just like
Mhm.
a couple like mid-sized carriers, but uh really hits like a lot of different targets and like the larger carriers as well. But just to get an understanding, like how does Guidewire as a whole like add value to that process? I know you're more so on like the startup kind of side, and then other people internally are more so on like the carrier kind of like implementation side. What's kind of like the internal process there to kind of connect them together?
Yeah, I mean, it totally depends. If you have ever looked at Guidewire, we have a massive ecosystem and we have just tons and tons of integrations and stuff. So we actually have a marketplace that carriers can go and look at the different, solutions. They can connect with those vanguards, they can connect with our partners. And, we really work to make the process as simple as possible. And within our marketplace, we do address pain points by expediting the time to market for integrations, decreasing that total cost of ownership and implementation timeline, and validating those integrations for the carriers.
And I think like, so there's the Vanguard program, and then they can like graduate to being on the marketplace, or how does that process kind of work
Yeah,
out?
that's correct. They can. It's meant to be an incubator into our Partner Connect program and be able to give our carriers access to those integrations once they're there. A lot of times with our integrations in the marketplace are only about 70 to 90% complete. Because each carrier has their own, customizable interface with Guidewire, they will have to go through and finish that out with them. So there could be different instances on how that end experience for the users is going to look for each carrier as that integration is finished out.
hmm And then as you try to build out like the Vanguard kind of program, like obviously like AI and automation are like kind of like hot buzzwords, right now. So you don't really want like your whole cohort to just be doing like the same thing, like say like a submission clearance, submission intake. How do you kind of like diversify the cohort, or what's kind of like the process there?
Yeah, we definitely look a lot for market gaps. So and sometimes, some of them will come to us with a whole, incredibly new, innovative idea. And sometimes they are more, um, it might be a solution that's already in the market, but they have found a better way to address it. And that can make a really big difference when, carriers are looking at these solutions and seeing how they can use them. And sometimes there's just so much better processes. We can reduce, the manual processes anymore with a lot of these solutions. And that makes a heck of a difference.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think time is an underwriter's most valuable asset, and like as a carrier, like the more time that you can have an underwriter actually like getting quotes out, as opposed to doing like all like the manual labor of like just setting up everything and just kind of triaging accounts and going through these very manual processes like data entry. Like the ROI there is just like so high.
You can completely almost automate all unstructured and structured data, historical data, and it's just a fantastic tool to take advantage of.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think a big thing is like we're at like the early stages now in a way. Like the saying I hear sometimes is like this is like the AI we're using now is like the worst AI we're gonna be using. Like it's like only gonna get better. So I think that's kind of like interesting to look at it that way. And then I think as AI gets better, and also as people like users, underwriters, people in operations, like at say like a carrier, as they become more open and like comfortable actually using these tools like in their day to day, then the adoption will become higher, and then it'll just become like normal. Like it'll just become like, and people will like it. People will like actually enjoy using these tools.
Oh, of course. And I think we are still at that point. You need the human in the loop. And, maybe there's a time we can, lessen that. But right now, I think it's just completely, it makes employees happier. It makes more accurate data in your system when you actually can use these different tools to capture the information. And it can really expedite the process of any, underwriting claims, any route you'd like to go there.
Yeah, definitely. And what's kind of the process like in Guidewire of like say like a carrier makes like requests, or like a carrier kind of like puts out like these pain points, and then is like, hey, like if you guys can find a startup or solution or a product that does like this, we would love it. Or like how does Guidewire kind of gauge like the I guess marketplace for that feedback?
Yeah, we definitely look within our own partners that we're already working with and see if they have some different solutions that maybe they just haven't put in the marketplace yet. We also do. We will get on, we will look for the solutions that can solve that. We will reach out. We are very proactive in that and seeing if there's possibilities of working together and doing different maybe integrations that can help those carriers for what they're looking for and just see how we can address those issues. Sometimes there might be something in the pipeline we are doing internally as well. So we definitely listen to those um, the gaps in the market, I guess, and try to solve them. It may not be instantaneously, but we will get there.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, that's kind of interesting because like Guidewire itself is also like a software platform, right? So like when would Guidewire decide just to like make the tool or do like an update to the software versus like looking or like supporting like a startup who does that?
I think that can vary, and how far along we are. We might have already started that, but sometimes, we also recognize when a partner already does it fantastically, like why recreate the wheel there.
Yeah, no, because I mean, like the more offerings and the more like in tune like Guidewire is, the more like sticky, like the software becomes, and the more valuable like Guidewire becomes to like the carrier clients. So for like the carriers themselves, what is kind of like say like integration kind of process, or like how has Guidewire like kind of learned from these integrations and any like challenges in the past to kind of streamline the actual like integration?
Yeah, we actually have it pretty down pat. We have done so many of these that we have a pretty strict process we go through, for evaluating the integrations. When they actually build the integrations, we also do a validation process to make sure that this integration is going to work. Obviously, with the cloud updates and stuff, we do make these integrations, like we make them stay in compliance, that they're still going to work. If there's code breaking changes, anything like that, we make sure that they are still available and active for our customers and that they are going to work. That is part of our process there. It just kind of, um, it just kind of like works so that we can constantly make this as best of a program as we can for our customers. This is meant to help mutual customers, help you guys, and be a two-way benefit. When they do reach out and want to, work on that integration, is what we have them do is there's a contact form and they can download the integration and see it, and then they can reach out to you, and then you guys can work out how that integration is going to be finalized. Is that going to be done with our professional service team? Is it going to be done with an SI? Is it going to be done with internal teams? And that's just a process that each carrier is kind of unique in how they'd like to approach.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's exactly it. Is like you definitely need to like vet the solutions before you like bring them to your your carrier partners, because that's like the Guidewire brand is like being leveraged there. So what's kind of the process of like vetting a startup? Like I know like when we look to like work with a new client, like directly, they would want to do like a proof of concept, but then like they would be testing the products for their own use cases versus like Guidewire. Does Guidewire like generally like test the solution before like marketing it, or what's the process of like would you kind of select like one or two carriers to like try out the tool before like opening it up to other carriers, or does like Guidewire itself like have a team that actually like acts like they're a carrier and like tests the tool?
Yeah, no, we actually have a validation process. And actually, when you are building an integration for our marketplace, is what we do is we have like you have to have a scope approval to make sure that you're abiding by cloud standards. It's something that's going to work, all of that. And once our technical team has went through and approved that scope, you actually get an environment, an NPE, to build that integration. As they go through the integration process, you have sprint reviews. We like to make sure that you're abiding by our cloud standards. So there's a lot of checkpoints in here. And then at the end, it actually goes to a validation team. And this team is going to test that code, and make sure that everything is working before we will release it on the marketplace.
Yeah, definitely. And just kind of looking forward, what's some areas of like trends or innovations like in InsurTech that you think is like still coming down the line here, or that you're kind of excited to see like more solutions pop up to meet these pain points?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different innovations coming out there. I think some of them that are really interesting is in the IoT, the telematics, some different worker safety stuff. And even just all the AI and ML, like those are advancing the industry like crazy. And I think it's exciting to see how the different innovations and the different ways we can use these kind of AI. There's ones that, can draft letters for you now. We have fraud detection and they can check all of those kind of things. And it's just absolutely expanding the market. And I guess another one that I do find interesting is with the, drones and stuff. They can go and check all these properties without physically being there. And it just makes an adjuster's life so much easier, and they can handle so much more and have so much more capacity to handle more claims as they come through.
Yeah, definitely. That's interesting. Awesome, Shannon. Well, thanks so much for joining us. Before we wrap up, is there anything that I haven't asked you that you want to mention or share with the audience?
I don't think so. I think you did a fantastic job, and I really appreciate you having me on here.